Man, I'm tired. How are you today, Ericca?
Huh? What'd you say?
Say, how are you today, Ericca?
You know, I was in a. I had an incident earlier this afternoon where I realized that I was slowly becoming a disgruntled old lady to the neighborhood kids. Do I
Pause.
feel bad
Pause.
about?
No. Pause right there. I'm starting the episode right here. I'm playing the music. Yo, you being... You're too young for this behavior.
I know, and that's what I called my mom and I said, I'm turning into the disgruntled mean old lady, and I'm not even 25.
They might have did something stupid. We'll see, man. We'll see.
Uh, Kids being kids, but just know it was real silent after I walked outside.
Oh my god. Well, as y'all can already hear as the music plays, we got some things we're gonna get into today. So buckle up. We have a couple topics. Got some real topics for y'all, man.
I wish I had like a seatbelt sound effect. If we had a camera, they could see I'm gonna put seatbelt on.
Seatbelt sound effect. Put that on the list.
It's like a, I don't know. How is it going? Yeah. Did you eat dinner?
I've had off and on appetite lately. To answer your question, no.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Rob, host of From My Experience podcast, Bike, with another episode. We are back, ladies and gentlemen, and I am not alone. I have the co-hostess with the mostest, Ericca. What is going on?
Hello, hello.
Sorry, I heard something from downstairs. All right. Wait, finish telling us how you're now the grumpy old lady in the neighborhood. What did the kids do?
Okay, so I came home from work early because I was like, I'm not in it today. So I got here, I realized I had a headache, and it's about 4:10, and I'm sitting here working and working, and I got the balcony door. It's been creaked open for the past 3 hours because I wanted some fresh air, and I
Creaked
got
open?
I know I said it weird, didn't
Well,
I?
why you ain't just open it? Is it too hot?
Because I have a cat, and she's gonna do
Oh,
something
you ain't got no
stupid.
screen?
No, I have a screen, but what I mean by do something stupid, she was already putting her paws up,
Oh, never mind. Yeah, she'll knock it
and
over.
exactly. And I said, girl, you already wasted 4 lives. You only got 5 more left.
I'm
So
done.
please. And I said, I'm not chasing you through this neighborhood if you jump from this balcony. So I had it just slightly creaked open. And I'm sitting here and I'm getting bling, 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 bling from my work computer. I'm like, dang, everybody's just 4:15 and everybody's ready to get some work done. And then my mom calling me. And all of a sudden, I just hear all this. And I'm just
Wait,
like,
what did you hear? That's not
and
making the sound.
it's not. Oh my gosh.
Wait,
I
try,
just
do it
scared my
again.
cat.
Do it again.
Okay. It was like,
Oh, well, I have clipping turned on, so it's not. I have an anti-clipping thing, so you're probably clipping, so it's not gonna play it. But you heard an
dang it.
obnoxious noise.
Oh my gosh. It was high pitched squealing, not
Okay.
screaming, squealing. And you know that high pitched, that little tongue scream that kids be doing?
Yeah.
Oh my God. It was on repeat. And I was sitting here, I said, now what in the world? And so I was overstimulated. I said, my computer binging up, my phone binging up, and I hear these kids screaming at the top of their lungs. And I accepted my mom's phone call. I said, hold on. And because I was like, I know I have a park not too like across the street from me. So I was like, okay, maybe they're at the park. I just need to figure out where they at so I can see if I gotta close my balcony door. I didn't realize how annoyed I was until I yanked open my balcony door, smacked open the screen door, stomped my way out onto the balcony, looked down, they looked up at me, they were like, huh? And all you saw was like, I don't know if you've ever watched the episode of SpongeBob SquarePants when they wake Shirley. No, what was
Yeah,
it? Sandy.
Sandy from
Sandy.
Hibernation.
when they wake her up from hibernation and she's like on beast mode, oh my gosh. I know that's exactly what my face looked like, because when I yanked over those doors and they smacked against the wall and I stepped outside to stare them down, and then they just like looked at me. I looked at them and I marched back inside and slammed the doors and locked them. Not a peep. Not a peep was nothing.
You ain't even say nothing.
I'll be there.
I didn't even say nothing. All I did was stare them down. That's all I had to do, apparently. They were, and it was just the fact that I was sitting there looking at them, and I said, now y'all know how to act. Like, I was telling my mom this too, because she was on speaker. I said, they know how to act, okay? Maybe it's just because when growing up, I knew that I wasn't supposed to be squealing like a little pig 24/7 while people working, okay? You save that for a day outside on a Saturday, not during the week. You don't get off the jump hooting and hollering like that. You still got school tomorrow. So what's going on? You got SOL to take tomorrow. Now what?
I'm done.
Go study. Hit them books. So, yeah.
Not them taking a standardized test.
They got to take that standardized test. I know y'all ain't doing y'all reading and writing.
You ain't right.
Yeah, they looked up at me. I looked down at them. And they zipped it. I said, thank you.
I actually feel good about myself now, because I have not reached that stage yet.
Oh.
That's crazy.
Oh,
you
yeah.
old.
Yeah. And it's not the first time I've had that type of interaction with kids. And it's not that I don't like kids. I do. But it's just certain
There's no
things.
but.
It's just I have a little bit of a tolerance level where I'm like, okay. Like, I know how I acted as a kid, but okay. Like, when I see teenagers, I'm just like, oh my gosh, here we go. But, yeah.
They were teenagers?
No, these kids weren't teenagers. These kids look every bit of 9 and 10. And I was sitting there like, y'all are just squealing, just to squeal and hear yourselves. Ain't nothing going on.
That sounds about right.
They were standing in a circle, just screaming. And I said, okay.
That definitely sounds about right. With kids these days, that's just one of the many things that they do that I will not understand. Maybe I did it when I was a kid. I don't know.
I didn't.
I did make sound effects a lot when I was a kid and got in trouble for that. But just outside, just screaming, maybe I did that. I ain't gonna put nothing past me.
My parents nipped that in the bud. I told them, I said, I probably would have a girly scream if I was ever scared, if you guys let me scream as a kid. Now I sound like a strangled old man when something scares me, because I learned how to scream in lowercase. So anytime I see a bug or anything, I'm like, oh, instead of doing like a regular, like high-pitched scream.
I'll be down.
Me in a haunted house, yeah, it sounds like Peapod getting choked out.
I'll be down.
What's wrong with you, yo?
And the last time I went to a haunted house, I lost my voice. So
I remember that story. So you had no scream. It was just air. Were you actually scared at the haunted house?
I was, because they actually popped up right next to me, and they touch you. And I'm like, okay. So it did scare me, because, mind you, we have to walk on this little bridge, and it's doing like that illusion thing where it's making you all dizzy. And you turn around and see a clown all up in your face. You gonna let out a little yell. And then that's when that lady, she said, come on, guys. I know it's a haunted house, but it's not that scary. I said, oh, my bad. I didn't know that we had Scream Queen over here.
Not Scream Queen.
I said, oh. I said, so what you pay the money to come over here for? Why don't you get in the back and dress up? Dang. Yeah.
Oh, Erica, you are an old lady. You ready for headlines?
Well, headlines. I know that the Diddy trial did start this week.
Yeah, you doing full coverage on the Diddy trial, right? Oh my gosh, yo. Hold on. I got one headline.
Tried to read it.
Oh my god. Hold on. Let's let me see here. Dun. Alright, here we go. The film Sinners, directed by Ryan Coogler and starring Michael B. Jordan, has grossed a significant amount at the box office. As of May 11th, it has earned $250 $14.4 million domestically and $68.9 million internationally for a worldwide total of $283.3 million. No original film. It has reached a milestone that no original film has reached in 8 years. Those are your headlines. Black excellence.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm talking about. I love Ryan Coogler. Shout out to Ryan Coogler. Shout out to Michael B. Jordan, Haley Steinfeld, Delroy. Love him in movies. Oh my god. That was a great movie.
He alright. Nah, he's dope. He's dope.
He's up there with my Danny Glover. I love them too whenever I see them in movies.
Danny Glover. Wow.
Whenever
I'll
I
be
see
damned.
Delroy or Danny Glover in a movie, I'm just like, take my money. It's gonna be good. Guaranteed.
I do like them in the movie. Yeah. We can. You know what? We can start there. We can start with you've seen Sinners, right?
Yes, actually, this Saturday I did.
Okay, we have not talked about Sinners on this podcast, so Ericca just wrote down the timestamp, so you can skip to the next timestamp if you don't want to hear.
10:58. Yeah.
If you don't want to hear about us talk about Sinners, then it's fine. You can just skip past this part. So I'll go first this time. I didn't know what to expect. I thought it was like a semi-horror something film. The preview didn't really allude. Oh, spoiler alert if you haven't seen Sinners. Go ahead, let me stop you right there. Spoiler alert. The spoilers start now. Didn't know it was going to be a vampire movie. I didn't catch anything. I didn't see a lot of previews either. I watched his interview on The Breakfast Club, and I might have seen a couple trailers, but I didn't catch the whole vampire vibe. Actually, it was a good thing because the movie was more of a surprise. Because I was going to go see it because it's Ryan Coogler, and I like to support black people when they put movies out. And even when the star is black, I like to go support. So, but overall, I liked it. It was a great movie. Wouldn't mind a sequel if they did it.
Yes.
I'll start with my surface level overview. What about you?
So for me, I go see any horror movie that's out there, but when it was Ryan Coogler and I saw Michael B. Jordan, I said, oh, guaranteed I'm going to go see it. Now, I did know that it was going to be vampire related when I watched the trailer. Maybe just because I'm just so used to like already trying to figure out when I see trailers for horror movies, like, okay, what's it going to be? But I absolutely was obsessed with the movie. This was the first movie I also made sure that anytime someone said anything about it, I successfully stayed away from spoilers.
Nice.
Go see this one. And I knew that it was like a month before I had seen it. And I was like, I successfully stayed away from all spoilers. Loved the movie. I loved all the different symbolism and meanings and takeaways that you get from it.
Same.
It's one of those movies that I know that you have to rewatch a couple of times to find stuff that you missed the first time. Yeah. And that's kind of like what I'm doing now is I'm like going through seeing people who are making like the videos and talking about it and the symbolism. And it was just, I love seeing stuff like that. And I love being able to tie it to certain timelines in like U.S. history. Love Michael B. Jordan. I know that whenever you see him, or Ryan Coogler, it's just going to be a great movie.
It is, man. Feel how y'all want to feel. Creed 1, 2, and 3 were awesome. Black Panther was awesome.
Fruitvale was sad.
Fruitvale was sad, yeah.
Great.
Ryan Coogler's on the tear, man. He also made history too because he has equity in the film. I believe the way he set up the deal was he got paid on the front end.
Good for
and is
him.
going to reap some of the profits or something like that. Do your Googles. I'm not 100% clear on that. But I'm with you. The symbolism, man. It was dope. Michael B. Jordan showed another level to his craft by playing two characters and having to do every scene twice. He had to do every scene twice. One is smoke, one is stack. It was definitely on point. And it was just a great movie, and the symbolism of the black community and how we treat one another and how we look out for one another and how we are quick to open our doors to those outsiders.
Yeah.
The outsiders happen to be white in this movie, but nonetheless, yeah.
I love that, and I loved Michael B. Jordan, honestly, that was tremendous, phenomenal. Being able to play twins who have such different personalities and
Yep.
different characteristics.
Yep.
I loved that. Also, shout out to everybody in the cast for their accents. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Like
Accents were
finding out
good.
yeah, finding out Annie is in it British. Oh my gosh, she
Yeah.
killed that accent. And Haley Steinfeld killed her role. Absolutely killed her role. I loved how they delivered their lines. I love the symbolism between the colors of Smoke and Stack. And oh my gosh, it was
Oh,
just
explain.
symbol. Well, it's like they already kind of foreshadowed. So blue, Annie had dressed him in blue, and blue is a very protective color
Mm-hmm.
to evil like spirits and evil like anything, right?
Mm-hmm.
And because she specializes, not specializes, but because she's so within that realm of spiritualism and like hoodoo and things like that, I just think that that was just really cool because it's like, okay, like now you see why it wasn't, he was always going to be the one that didn't get bit in the
Yeah.
end. And like Stack is like, he's dressed in red. And also, I thought it was so cool how someone broke down how they're both dressed, but if you look at Stack, he's dressed like the Italian mobsters.
Mm-hmm.
And Smoke, he's dressed like the Irish ones to also pinpoint when they were in Chicago who worked for what mob
Uh,
and everything. And I thought that was pretty cool because then it tied to Sammy when Sammy was in the movie before basically Sammy gets older.
yeah.
He's dressed like Stack with his hat. His hat has the same type of design, but then as he's an old man, his hat's like Smoke. And I'm just like, oof. And also there's a lot of heart like breaking characteristics, I guess, of the characters that I didn't realize as well is that apparently Ryan Coogler confirmed it in an interview that Stack dressed Smoke.
Ah.
He dressed him, he did his hair, like everything, taught him how like what was cool, what was in, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I boohoo cried like I think last night. I was on
What?
TikTok. I boohoo cried because I didn't realize that when Stag basically is like turned and everything like that, and
Yeah.
Smoke is in distraught, and he says like, "I that's my brother. He's the best of me."
Yeah.
And towards the end of the movie, we realize that he has the shakes and tremors from PTSD of being in the war. And that's why he never rolled his own cigarettes or anything.
I didn't catch that.
Yeah, and so like when he's sitting there fumbling to like roll his cigarette at the end, I boohoo cried once that was like known. I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, that's terrible.
Oh, when he was sitting on the ground after shooting all the white people,
After shooting all of them, and
the
only
racist
time
KKK white people.
yeah, and the only time that his hand didn't tremor or like shake or anything was when he was holding a gun.
Wow, I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I need to go see it again.
Yeah.
That's definitely a buy too. Once it comes out on Blu-ray, I'm gonna buy that. Yeah. Wow, that's very deep. That's one thing I love about those types of movies. Now, I'm not a.
Mm-hmm.
How can I say this? There are certain movies out there that just grip you to a point that you want to do all the things that you just said. Like you want to do the research, you want to find out who is this and what is that and why they're dressed like that. And I love that he was thoughtful enough because this was also like a personal story. And it was also loosely based on like another previous film. But I love when people take their creativity to that level and add the authenticity in there to give us the lore, like give us something to look up and look at and think about. And even where they shot the movie, they don't have a movie theater and they're petitioning to get one. Yeah, I was just like, wow. But for me, what I enjoyed was seeing the relationships that everyone had with each other. Like there wasn't a lot of conflict or beef. There was just like understanding. And then you saw like people standing on business. What's his name? Delroy. I can't pronounce. Delroy. Okay. Like Delroy was talking about how, hey, I go to this club. I know they're gonna be here. Blah blah blah. And then the business negotiation, like it's not always ugly. it don't have to always be ugly and ignorant between us. We can still help one another out. I also love the part when, you know, I forget which one was it. Was it Smoke or Stack? One of them was like upset about like the money, and then the other one was like Smoke. And then, you know, Stack was like, "Yo, man, like these people work hard. Like this is all they got. Like this is all that they get. We can still spend it. Like let's not bust them over the head." So I think there was a lot of symbolism about just doing business, you know, for us, by us, because we know that's a thing, right? We always looking for discounts, so we always, you know, we're not always trying to meet us where we are. And I get it. It's tough because it's like, this is still a business. Like we still need to make money, but also it's like, well, this is our clientele. You need to know your clientele, and you need, if that's going to be your clientele, then your business needs to be in alignment with your clientele if that's who your clientele is going to be. So these people only have like these credits and stuff like that. Then you should be mindful of, hey, this is how they gonna pay. Like, how we gonna make this work for us on the back end? And then I have to watch it again, but I really love the music scene in the club. Like, first of all, didn't know that dude's voice was gonna be like that when he started singing the jazz or blues, whatever, the blues. I was like, why he got the voice of a 90-year-old man and a little kid body?
And he's apparently the son of a gospel singer.
Oh, okay.
And he was personally scouted by her to be a backup singer for her tour.
Wow.
He's considered like a child, like a music prodigy, which is crazy. Well,
that makes sense based on his voice. Very, very talented. But yeah, I love that scene, how they just kind of went through like different eras of music, and then that was dope. And then of course, you know, the interracial relationship thing was interesting.
It's not an interracial relationship between Haley Steinfeld's character.
Yeah.
She was just white passing. She was a white passing lady. Yeah.
So she wasn't white. She wasn't
white.
Oh, she was mixed.
She was mixed. Her grandfather
was
biracial, and then it led to her mom being biracial. So she's basically like a Zoe Kravitz, because she's basically 1/8 black. So she was white passing, but because she was white passing, that's why Stack. And I think I loved that the most, is not just that, but their relationships with each other between her, Stack, Annie, and Smoke. That they were always family no matter what. So when Smoke basically had to kill Annie because that was her wish, because she didn't want to turn into a vampire, they had their baby on the other side waiting for them.
Yeah.
And when Haley Steinfeld's character, I'm forgetting her name, Mary, when she cried out, everyone was like, oh, well, that shows that the curse from Remick and everything, like him and his mind control. I'm like, no, because the thing is, like, that was the whole purpose, is they were going to try to turn Annie before they turned Smoke, because that was the only way Smoke would have turned into a vampire.
Yeah.
And they didn't realize that she had had Smoke promised to kill her instead. And she was white passing, and that's what made that whole scene with her and Michael B. Jordan, when he said, I just wanted to keep you safe because we would never be free out in the open.
Yep.
It made me understand why she went directly for Stack when she had finally turned, was because she was finally able to be free with him no matter what, because they were able to endure. Clearly, if you shot at them, they would still survive.
Yep.
So they'd be able to endure any type of violence against them.
Yep. But so also the other side of that symbolism, and I took this from that, is yes, she was white passing, and she used her white privilege too to go outside. Because like, and that's the other thing too, it kind of like, it has some relationship things in there, because like the brothers had decided, but then your girl comes along. I mean, I know you said that, but they might have money. So she mingled, and then I'm going to go talk to them, because you know you can talk to them because you have the privilege of being white passing. And then you go out and do something, you get caught up, and then now you bring it back to us. And then it causes basically division and separation. Like, she literally took him away from her brother, and we see that happen all the time. Like, we see people feel like they get taken away from. So I think there was some symbolism there as well. And the movie is very brutal. First of all, the language and the violence is at a very high level. Y'all need to understand that because I went with my mom and my brother, and it was my idea. So some of the jokes they were talking about and eating poom poom was very awkward sitting next to my 71-year-old mom.
I went with my parents.
I just kept looking straight. But see, your parents are more youthful though, man. You know, and they're cool. Like my mom is like church going Southern. You know what I'm saying? So I'm cringing. Like it's fine for me, but I'm cringing. I'm like, stop talking about eating poom poom. And then he ate the sweaty poom poom in the club. I was like,
Well, he said, yeah.
He's nastier. He's nastier than me.
I'll be damned.
Because that was, she was like, I walked here. He's like, I just want to taste you.
I'll be damned. I'll be damned.
That was so funny because I'm sitting there with a bag of popcorn and ice tea, and I'm just like side eye to my parents. I'm like, okay, what do we do again?
I
was like, I'm clearly about to bust out laughing no matter what.
Yeah, that scene
that was funny.
Yeah, and even her, like, you know, just that whole you married but you showing up and then we doing this.
Yeah. I also saw people trying to say that like the characters who were turned, they all represented like the 7 like sins in a way, like, and hers was like clearly like lust and everything. And I was like, yes, I get that, but also I was like, I mean, it's also just one of those things. They were just key players in everything because they all ran into Sammy that day. Also, I like how you talked about like her being able to blend back and forth because she was white passing. I wanted to bring up the Asian couple bad.
Yeah, forgot about that.
Because I didn't realize. Okay, I didn't realize in the movie that the mom, she was across the street on the segregated white side grocery store.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, okay. It took me a minute to realize that, and that's why Bo, I think his name is Bo, he's on the black side, and he's at the store on the black side, and I was so glad that they touched on the fact that there is a big Asian population in the South during this time period, because I'm like, how else do like they were implemented, like they're like one of those populations that isn't spoken about when you think about the South during like the 30s, the 50s, anything. But I'm like, they were a very like prominent population. And so I'm like, when you guys wonder like how did these like beauty stores pop up and like these like food places, everything like that, I'm like, because it's history and generations and generations. And I think the one thing about like people of color solidarity that struck out to me as soon as I saw it in the movie was after Stack was killed by Annie. And she tells Grace, that's her name, when she tells Bo, she's like, let's get out of here. We only promised to help them for the night with the club. We didn't promise to deal with this.
Yeah. You
go get the car and we'll go. That when she said that instantly, I automatically was like, boom, got him. I was like, because it's a mirror of like, this is what's happening back then and it's still happening now, where everything is fine and dandy when everybody's winning.
Yeah.
But when one population is hit with something, the rest of like that whole people of color being grouped up together, you're not really grouped up together. There is no solidarity because everyone is out for themselves at the end of the day. And Grace showed that exactly. As soon as Stack and the night ended, she was like, get your things, let's go.
Let's get the hell out of here. We got a daughter to get up to. Yeah. The same thing with this election.
Yeah.
When they broke down the people of color vote, it was like, we weren't together. The black men and the black women were the only ones really together. The other ones, I was like, what are y'all doing? And now, some of y'all ain't here anymore. You're back in your home country. But, yeah, that Asian couple definitely played a significant role. What else happened? There's just a lot in there. They talked about when they did the whole Irish dance outside.
Oh my gosh, that Irish jig freaked me out so bad.
Yeah, it was creepy.
Like I was looking at Cornbread and I said, what is Cornbread doing when he was doing like that stiff man walk?
Yeah.
I was like, I am creeped out. But I was like, okay, I know that they had spoke about it in the beginning of the movie, but basically that Remick, his whole infatuation with Sammy was because we all know Sammy is like a griot. He's a
Mm-hmm.
storyteller. He's very integral. He has like, and it's like a special ability. And we have to touch on his father. Oh my gosh, because I didn't realize this either.
Oh
But
God, what else? Lord, you caught all the symbolism. I'm glad you're here.
well, it's
I'll
one
be
that
damned.
also like after a movie, I have to go see what everybody's talking about because I'm like, did they see what I see? And then it's like, okay, I see that part. I understand. I love like that whole like dissecting part. But basically, the father, you caught how the father is basically brothers with Smoke and Stack's father.
Mm-hmm.
And Smoke killed the father because he had knocked out Stack
Mm-hmm.
and he was an evil man. But the father, Sammy's father, he's preacher, pastor, and he basically took Sammy's guitar and everything and was like, "No, like you're gonna help me with the sermon tomorrow." Da 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 da, talking about and the evil and the devil is gonna follow you home one day, but he wanted Sammy for his own benefits.
Yeah.
And it was finally clear at the end, and people are saying, well, that Sammy's father also has that same type of evil in him because that's why Smoke and Stack were checking up on him, saying like, "How's your father treating you?" Things like that, because they believe that that type of evil it runs in that generation.
Yeah.
Because when Sammy comes into that church at the end and he's holding his guitar, broken guitar, and he's holding it. And his father is trying to get him to basically add into the sermon and say, put down the guitar, put down the guitar. Yeah. Because he thinks that if he has Sammy there and because he's a griot, because he's a storyteller, he should be in the church to help bring not the word or the gospel of God into the church, but more for the father's benefit to have people just come into his church. For just his
Y'all got all that from them little bitty scenes? Them two
Oh,
scenes his daddy was in?
because like when his dad when you have to go back and look at it because I did catch it. When you go back and look at it, when he closes the book, when he closes the Bible and he's still reciting the verses, Sammy, his dad looks at him for a certain type of way and it goes away quickly. And I'm like, why he look at him like that? Like he was just like one like disgusted, but also like it was like a revelation of some sort. But it was because it's like Sammy is able to close the Bible and recite the verses like nobody's business, and you have to study and practice it. He has something that you don't.
Maybe jealous of his gift.
Mm-hmm. And that's also why Remick sought out Sammy, and because Remick was considered like a griot for I forgot what it's called. It's like a file or something like that in for Irish. And he hasn't been able to connect to his ancestors or anything like that. So that's why he was specifically seeking out Sammy.
I ain't catch all that, so I'm gonna have to go back and look at it again, and then go do like more of a deep dive. Definitely worth it. So I'm gonna definitely go do that.
Yes.
I ain't catch that. There's a lot more we could talk about, but we have other topics, and we're not. And unless you have something else you really wanted to share before we move on.
Just that Michael B. Jordan scene with Annie when he talked about keeping her safe, that was improvised.
Oh,
That was improvised. And when Delroy is in the car with Sammy and Michael B. Jordan as Stack, and he gives that story and he starts humming,
yeah.
that was parts of that were improvised. And he had asked Ryan if he could keep that in the movie. I think there is supposed to be a longer version, and it should be in a director's cut, hopefully.
Probably.
But
Right after he yelled at the people to hold the head up on the side of the road because the chain gang, because he knew half of them or all of them.
Yeah, he knew all of them. But when he tells that story, that was something else that I felt just like kind of grabbed you up. And it's like you already know like the harsh realities of things, but it really just added another level to it on why, also a background and context on why Slim he drank, you know? Because they were just quick to say, oh, he's just a drunk. No, he's seen some stuff.
Survivor's remorse.
And I was like, you think of like when you talk to like people in your community, like the old heads, and everybody's like, oh yeah, they're just old heads. I'm like, they've seen some stuff.
They have definitely seen some stuff, man. Yeah, and the value of old heads. Because at
Exactly.
the end he came through in the clutch. He drew the attention on him. He sacrificed himself so everyone could try to escape.
Mhm.
Um, and he also kind of like ran the room like with the
Mhm.
music and stuff like that. Yeah. So encourage the new generation to step on up. There's a lot, man. If you haven't seen Sinners, Joe, go see it. You are cheating yourself if you have not seen Sinners.
Truly.
Okay, time to serious this out, y'all. Time to serious this out. I don't know where to start. You know what? I'm gonna just go to. I'm gonna leave out being honest with yourself. That's a little tender
Okay.
subject right now. We can do that next time, the week after next. Let's talk
Okay.
about. Well, I'm in therapy now, y'all, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh,
Hold
congrats.
on, where's that? Where's?
I'll be damned.
All right, so
It's shout out to bettering yourself and
yes,
to learning new ways.
yeah. So I shared this on social media already, but I had a really the last 60 days have just been mentally rough,
Mhm.
and very jarring for me because I'm a very realistic, fact based person. So when I'm upset or I don't feel right, I have to investigate it because I'm very in tune with myself. I'm not delusional with myself. I'm well aware of my strengths, my weaknesses, my shortcomings. I'm very receptive to, hey, you should work on this or you should think about this because I'm not perfect, right? So when I just was having very bad days, just sadness and stuff like that, I had to really like take a step back. And then on a deeper level, I was supposed to go to my cousin's graduation, which I really, 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 really wanted to go. She's the last first cousin. She's the youngest first cousin, and she's the last one to graduate college. So I really wanted to go. But that day I was just upset, like I was crying, and I did not know why. Like, and here's the
Mhm.
thing. Well, I think I know why now. But like, if you know my story, a lot has happened over the past 3 years, but I basically worked to rebuild myself to where I am now. Like, I have a much better career with decent income. I mean, my bills are paid. I'm able to save money. Like, I just went to the doctor recently. My health is where it needs to be. No huge health concerns. Got to work on my blood pressure, but other than that, my numbers are straight, solid. Um, like there's no looming issue in my life that would normally cause someone to feel some type of way. So right now, I think part of it is just fulfillment and seeking
Mhm.
fulfillment in what I wake up and do every day. Um, I do feel like I'm in a funk. I do operate better and more efficiently when I have my own space, which
Mhm.
technically I kind of do. Like yeah, I live with my mom, but like she doesn't bother me that much. But it's just as a grown ass man, you want your own, which I'm working towards. But when that happened, I was like, yeah, because I don't cry. Like, not that
Mhm.
there's anything wrong with crying, but like that's a rare appearance for me. And I've also noticed I'm just more sensitive now too. Like, I was watching Forever on Netflix. If you haven't seen Forever, go watch it. We gonna
I'm
talk about
watching
that
it
next.
this weekend.
I huh? Oh, you watched it
I'm
already?
No, I'm
Oh, this
watching it
weekend.
this weekend.
Yeah, there was a scene in the episode before last. I want to say 7 with the son and the father, and I literally shed tears, and I was like,
Mhm.
"Who is this?" But anyway, after that Friday thing, and this is just a tidbit for those of you out there. Maybe you have an employee. Oh my gosh, what is the thing called? I have an employee assistance program called EAP. A lot of some
Mhm.
companies have it. See if you have it, and also check with your insurance. But they have basically my employee assistance program specifically offers like different paths of like, hey, what's going on with you type deal. So they have like this thing with Talkspace where you get 3 free sessions, and if you don't know what Talkspace is, free ad. Basically, they pair you up with therapists, right? And you can do a chat session where you can send each other text messages or voice memos. They also have video where you can do like a video conference with them one on one. So I've been doing a chat thing because they say, you know, try out your therapist or whatnot. But she's been doing a really good job, and I like the questions that she's asking me because she's forcing me to think about things differently. And she asked me a really tough question the other day, because I think what's going on with me is mostly external. Because she was like, you know, she asked me some questions, and everything I talked about was external, but she was like, but internally, she's asking me about security. She's like, what about, she was like, well, what about, like, what makes you feel secure, you know, that's internal versus external? Because I was like talking about, like, you know, fulfilling job, living in a certain place, those things make me feel secure. But like, I'm pretty secure in myself. Like, I could lose a little weight, but I mean, I've been through so much, and I'm just so down to earth. And then the other thing is, I'm fortunate enough to have strong friendships and strong family. Like, you could talk to 20 different people that know me that don't know each other, and they'll probably tell you all the same thing about me. And that lets me know I'm doing a great job, because when you're not around, what people have to say about you says a lot about the impression that you leave. So, I said all that to say that if you are going through something, if you're not feeling like yourself, or hell, even if you think things are going well, maybe you have some benefits out there you could be taking advantage of. So I'll be sharing tidbits about my journey in therapy. I already feel better. I already feel like, I like the fact that as a therapist, they don't know you. So, they're coming at you and asking you questions to truly gain information and help you, versus sometimes when someone knows you, they curtail or sugarcoat or even maybe hardball the questions because they know you, and they're trying to anticipate your reaction. And it's like, just come at it. I want someone to come at me pure. Like, don't have a preconceived notion.
Slate.
Right. It's like, I don't need you to think about, well, how he gonna respond, or I know he gonna feel like this, or like, no, like, so, and she is a white woman. So I took that tidbit from Charlemagne the God. Charlemagne the God said he wanted a therapist that did not relate to him, because he has, like, I think one of his therapists was like an older Asian woman, and he said, I don't want anyone to have any preconceived notions or feel like they can already relate to me. I want like a clean blank, true blank slate.
Yeah.
And I think older Asian women know very little about middle-aged black men. So he might have made a good choice. So I'm like, oh, let me see, you know. But it's a personal choice, you know. It's a personal choice, whatever. But I think I cut myself off. But yeah, check with your insurance, check with your HR department, see if you have any resources out there that can maybe get you some free sessions, or even, you know, cover some of your sessions. But it comes highly recommended. Again, I feel better knowing that I'm having someone asking me some more challenging questions and get me to think more critically. Yeah.
And it might be on your medical plan too.
It probably is. That's what I need to look into. I just need to take the time to do it. Now, Ericca, you've been in therapy before, correct?
Oh yeah, I've been in therapy off and on.
Okay.
Yeah, since I was 20. Since I was 20, off and on. I think this is this has been the longest I've gone with the off and on. So I started when I was 20, and I want to say my first ever session was March of 20. Was it 2020?
Yes, you're getting old.
It was March 2021. It was March 2021. I was 20. And it came after a long discussion with my mom, because I was in Richmond at the time in undergrad. And I think that was the first time in a long time that I had been by myself, because also I was in the shutdown by myself because of school.
Oh.
So I was in my junior year of college, and I was not going to class. I was going to one class, basically, like, maybe one time out the week, and I was only in there for, like, all of an hour. The rest of my classes were online. They were virtual. It was like a ghost town. I didn't leave because on my fridge, everything was stocked. It wasn't like, it was different protocols where it's like people couldn't be anywhere. I was going to the gym in my apartment building. I was just so shut off from the world. The only thing I had was like my cat. And I
Oof.
remember just being so. And the reason that I got my cat in the first place was because I knew I was going to be alone in Richmond.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that I was like, okay, I'm moving back to Richmond and it's a shutdown. But that was the first time where I felt truly like at my lowest, where I was like, every day was like a battle for me, where I didn't know, like, I ended up in tears every day, no matter what. And it was like to the point where like my parents were practically doing like welfare calls.
Yeah.
Like, hey, you kicking it? You good? Like, and my mom was visiting me monthly. She would come down and she would visit and stay with me for a week, maybe 2 weeks to make sure I was okay. And,
Oh.
yeah. And so we were looking at different therapists for a long time because I told her, I said, I think I need to go to therapy. I said, I don't know what's going on with me. Like, I had like some ideas, but I know, like, for before I even moved down to Richmond, I went to the doctor, and the doctor was like, yeah, girl, like, you're depressed. But I hate like the questionnaire that they give you. They're like, are you a threat to yourself? If I say yes, what are you gonna do? Throw me in the loony bin? What you gonna do? But it was like a five, like a little piece of paper, five questionnaire and everything, where it's like rate, like most likely, neutral, less likely. I'm like,
Oof.
this and she was like, girl, you're depressed. And I said, thank you. Yeah. So do you have a list of therapists? But I had met with this lady, the first ever interaction with her. She legit was an older black lady. And our session together, I'm sitting there like boohoo crying my eyes out. And she's just sitting there looking at me and typing. And I was like, okay, what if I just ended it all in front of the camera right here in front of you? Because she legit, like, it was so difficult finding a therapist that could understand or was able to show that type of empathy because it was a virtual appointment
Yeah.
too. And just to sit there, like, in the midst of like your hysteria and then look at the person, they're just like, just looking at you, not a care in the world, not offering anything, not asking you questions on anything. It sucked. And I think that was when I was like, maybe I don't need a therapist. And it took my mom reaching out to another therapist at the time and being like, hey, like, my daughter really needs it. Like, just hear her out. And I met with the therapist that I did have off and on. Was great. She basically questioned, like, she was a middle-aged black lady. So she kind of felt like she could relate to certain things, but we came from different backgrounds. But she understood like things that I only was gonna go through because of who I was. I was a younger black girl in school, going through the notions of things. So it was like she could relate to certain things and being like, okay, well, no, I don't think they meant it like this. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why do you think they meant it like this? So that was good. Therapy worked for me for a long time because of that, because having someone come in from the outside who doesn't know you, doesn't have a stake in it, where they are trying to see so many different multiple point of views and tell you, oh, well, I don't think it was like that, da, da, da. But someone who's like giving you a blanket, this is what happened. You felt this way. Why? Basically.
Yep.
That helped so much. Those exercises that she gave me helped so much. Just being able to talk to someone for 30 minutes out of my day, 30, 40 minutes out of my day, and just rant into like the abyss and just be
The
done with it.
abyss.
Because she's like, okay, Erica, we have 5 minutes left. I said, and another thing, like,
Do we need to extend this session?
yeah, because she was like, Erica, I have a client. I did this. I said, and one more thing. And I would be saying, and I'd be like sitting there like raccoon makeup, everything. I was like, you gonna talk to me again next week, right? Like,
Oh my God, Erica, I didn't know
like,
it was that bad.
oh my gosh, like, I was like, I had worked myself up through like stress of schoolwork, through the pandemic, through like my personal relationships, through my friendships. Oh my gosh. And it was like every other week it was something else. And it was like, she's like, Erica, I know that this week you say you're in good spirits. I know that when I see you next week, you're gonna be boohoo crying. I'm like, and what about it? Yes, I am. So I really enjoyed the process of the ebbs and flows of it, because it showed that it's like not every day is gonna be sunshine and roses and
No.
peaches and like that, but also being able to practice it without her around was
Yeah.
great. where certain things would happen to me, and I was like, you know what? I said, you know what? I'm just gonna do the exercise that she told me to do, because I'm over here trying to talk my way into what it was meant to be, and that's not what it was. I'm just overthinking it. So I love therapy, and at one point I did take a break from it because also, I'll be honest and accountable on this. Sometimes I felt like she was clocking me a little bit too much. And I'd be like,
What does that mean?
like sometimes she was just like, I would tell her something and she's like, Erica, now that I know you because we've built this relationship, she was like, I think that you are not doing what you're supposed to do to mitigate how you're feeling. She would tell me, like, I don't think you're doing your exercises that we said. I don't think that you are practicing what you're telling me. You're telling me this, but you're not doing it on your own. So that's why this isn't working as often or as effectively as you want. Clocked me so hard because I had gotten comfortable. And I remember that stung because I was like, having someone that doesn't really know you, but they know you now and they call you out on your BS. Yeah, I wasn't mature enough to hear that at the time. So I was like, okay, girl. I went ghost for like maybe 4 or 5 months. And then I think I had finally push my pride and my ego aside.
How long?
And it was like 4, 5, 6
I'll
months
be damned.
that I like left her alone because I was like,
That's
I was like, she
drawing.
doesn't know. Yeah, and I was like, she doesn't know me. She don't know. It went from July, not July. I won't say July. I think it went from September because it was right around the time that my senior year had started, in undergrad, and I was in that crazy relationship, and I missed her. Oh my gosh, I missed her during that entire time, and I didn't see her again. I didn't meet with her again until around that February, that March, after I had already graduated by that point. So,
Wow.
and I remember that it took so that entire relationship, I guess after like the 3, 4 months of it, I was just going through it by myself. And that's when I was like on autopilot because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have like no one to talk to. I don't have my therapist. I don't have anyone to like help me understand like what was going on or anything like that. And also my mental state at the time. And I remember when that was finally all said and done, and I had finally like just had a moment to just be by myself, and I was like, I stopped talking to her because I felt attacked with my ego and my pride. And I was like, I needed to put that aside because I was like, at the end of the day, if I want to be where I want to be, I need to be able to accept that. So I ended up texting her up, calling her and say, hey girl, I know
Hey,
you've
girl,
never
hey.
seen me. Hey. I said, you got any openings next week?
Hey, girl, hey.
And legit the next time she said it's been a long time, I said, I know. I said, and I was wrong for that. And just being able to, I guess, having a therapist and then being able to build that relationship, oh my gosh, that helped so much. I have not spoken to her since July of 2022. I have not spoken to her since July of 2022. But it was also to the point where I knew how to mitigate certain things by myself. And I was like, okay, I got into a point of stability mentally around that May, June, July timeframe because I was cried to her about things like where I wanted to be. I was like, I wanted a different job. I wanted this. I wanted that. And it was like I had all the tools I needed. I just wouldn't do.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. And she told me, it was like, you know what you have to do. You just won't do it. Is there fear? And being able to just, I guess, tell myself, like, you shouldn't be fearful. She's telling you shouldn't be fearful. And I just took a step back from therapy because I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. I know that I can go back to therapy, but I'm in a very good headspace. And I know how to handle situations that I thought would break me years ago, but they don't because it wasn't that serious in the bigger scheme of things.
That's freaking. Hold on. That is beautiful that you at such a young age see the value in that. But you're a different type of person just in general, I think. But I'm glad. Thank you for sharing that too. You gave me some
Yeah.
tidbits.
Yeah. Everybody should go to therapy at least once.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, y'all. Part of therapy is them holding up a mirror and you facing yourself. And the other thing Erica mentioned, which I haven't gotten there yet because I'm literally am only in my second session, you're gonna get homework. You're gonna
Yeah.
get. They're going to challenge you and push you to do things, but you have to remember the part of the purpose is for you to get better. In order for you to get better, your circumstances, something has to change. In order for change to happen, somebody or some actions must be taken. So just gear up for that. Go ahead and gear up for that now. You got to prepare yourself to be able to fight some battles, man. I hope that you get to that point. Everyone doesn't stick with it, right? But just know that going in, and that's the other thing too, man. Like, whatever questions you have, like, make you a list of questions. So when you get your therapist, hey, I've never done this before. Can I ask you some questions? So that's another thing. Like, maybe you need to take the lead in asking some questions just to get your comfort level there. But the other thing I want to say too is, man, and this may be tough for a lot of people, not really tough for me because it's just who I am naturally. Your therapist can't help you if you lie. So,
Exactly.
like, give them the bold, naked truth. That's what I typically do anyway in my day-to-day life. So, like, I've made my therapist laugh a few times. She was like, okay, Robert, like, because, like, she asked me a question. I said, dang, girl, you be asking some questions, ain't it? Like, and she messaged me back and was laughing because I was like, ooh, that was a spicy one like that. But that's a question I need to answer. Which brings me to my other point. In telling the truth, take the time to sit down with yourself, no matter how stupid you think it is, and say, yo, what is bothering me? What's really wrong? For me, like I said, the biggest thing is fulfillment. Like, I love podcasting. I love gaming. I like TV and film. Like, I've really been watching that, and I'm liking the emotions that it evokes. And I'm like, I would love to work in one of those three industries because those are things that I engage in all the time, but there's not a straightforward path. And the other challenges are that I'm older now. The stakes are higher for me. And everyone actually taking a risk is very different now than it was even 10 years ago. It was easier to recover financially. Now it's
It feels like starting over.
right, when you go out there now and it doesn't work, everything is more expensive. Job salaries aren't keeping up. So it's like, is this risk really worth it?
And the stability.
Yeah, excuse me. So when you're pursuing relationships, hello, women like to feel secure. They like to feel safe. They like to feel stable. So do men. But we're talking about women right now. That's like high on the list. So if you bouncing around and you like, I'm about to try this, I'm about to try that, and you 40, they're gonna be like, what the hell are you doing? And then, I'm at the age now where it's like, yo, I should have been what I did. Think about retirement. So now I am a fact-based, rooted in reality person. I understand that if you go after your dreams, because I've done it before, when you go after something and you take that risk, there's a chance you can succeed and there's a chance that you can fail. That's just the reality. Everyone's not successful at what they go after. And you don't know when it's going to pop for it to actually be working to a point to where, all right, I can sustain myself doing this. Like, there's a lot of ins and outs you got to learn. And I'm not trying to be pessimistic. I'm being realistic and saying that if you're going to take this risk, you got to kind of prepare yourself for some of the repercussions that may come along with it, or just the challenges that come along with it. But I'm figuring out ways, and I'm finding out ways, and I'm taking steps to find that fulfillment, because really that is one of the things that's just missing in my daily life. And that's something I don't expect a company that I work for to provide me with that. I don't. I think the work that I do and whatever that company aligns with, whatever service they're providing, if I align with it, then I think that helps as well. Kind of like teaching. Like, yeah, I was working for a school district, but I knew that every day I was pouring into the lives of children who still reach out and communicate with me today. So yeah, that's a big thing for me. But you know, I'm willing to dig deeper and figure out what else is going on. So hence the therapy thing, because they're gonna hear things and see things and notice things about you
Patterns.
that they notice that type of stuff. And I know I got some unhealthy patterns for sure. And they're just gonna point them out and help you just hone those skills and sharpen those things. But again, that's just my advice as someone who's new to it. Just one, give yourself that self-evaluation so you can at least say, well, this is what I think is going on, to kind of give them a baseline when they ask, because they're going to ask, right? And you want to give them a baseline so they can kind of look at the situation and say, all right, well, these may be some of the things you need to do. But also, man, don't be afraid to be honest. You know, when we start getting deeper into this thing, I got some ugly stuff that I'm going to be bringing up and sharing because I don't want it on me anymore. A lot of it doesn't bother me the way it used to, but maybe there are some other things that I haven't done that I could do to make it even better. So again, I say all that to say therapy is a leap. I know some people may be scared, but I haven't heard anything negative ever from any of my friends who have been in therapy. So again, I'll share tidbits of my journey, and I'm enjoying it thus far.
Yeah. I went from crying every day for a year to I'll cry occasionally, but most of the time it's for good reasons and not just laying down and I'm crying, or I wake up and it's already a terrible day.
Oof. Yeah. Nobody needs that. Nobody needs that. I think I'm gonna call it there, Ericca. Yeah, we an hour in and I'm hungry. And you look,
it was a good episode.
This was a great episode, another vulnerable mush episode. Message to the brothers. Let me hit the music.
Brothers.
Brothers, your message is short and sweet today. Whatever it may be, it is okay to seek help. Whatever it may be. Seek help, man. Whether it's therapy, whether you're moving this weekend and you need help, whether you want to start this business but you need help, whether you got problems in your relationship and you need help, whether you got personal problems and you need help, there are so many resources that you can use to get the help that you need. There's almost no reason to not be getting help. Like, you know, you just got to get over that hump. You got to get over yourself. You got to get over your ego and your feelings and your pride and your fear and do it. And one of the things I'm going to be doing moving forward, because I realize all the things I said earlier about being older and taking those risks, I am looking to do way more collaborative things. Like, I want to do a second podcast. I want to do a video game podcast, but I don't want to run two podcasts. And I love Ericca because she is like the yin to my yang. And I really don't pour too much. This podcast isn't very taxing for me. Two of them would be more taxing for sure, especially the other one, because the video game podcast is going to require more work just because of the subject matter and having to stay abreast of stuff like that. But yeah, I've already reached out to some people. I'm trying to get me a crew together so we can just run it together. And I'm just thinking like that with everything. Like, now when I have ideas, I'm like, who can I do this with? Who can I help? Who's willing to help or partner so that we can bear the burden together versus me continuously putting everything on my shoulders because, you know, you've been burned by people in the past, or you feel like I need to be self-made, or I can do it. And yeah, you can. But it hits different when you have at least one or two other people to help carry that load. You're not carrying as much, and that leaves room for you to do things for yourself.
Without burnout.
Without burnout. There you go. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we out of here, man. we back. We won't be back next week. Erica's where you? Ericca has team building next week.
Bonding. Zap. Yeah.
I'll be damned.
Yeah, everybody getting zapped. Ain't no such thing as team and laser tag.
Oh my gosh. Well, you have fun at laser tag.
Put me in.
Yeah. So next week we'll likely have a guest on. I'll rustle someone up. I might get my mentor. I might get Carl Van, owner of Pass the Peas app, the only recipe app that lets you upload recipes and add video to each step. Check that out in the description. Yeah, thank y'all for joining us. Seek the help if you need the help, ladies and gentlemen, but especially my gentlemen. Go see Sinners if you haven't seen it. Watch Forever on Netflix. I'm trying to coax my homegirl Sheena to do an episode with us where we break down the series. Maybe some episodes. I mean, can't do a whole series in one show, but yeah, go see it. Yeah, batches. There you go. So, till next time, ladies and gentlemen, take care of yourselves physically, mentally, and financially, and we'll catch y'all. Peace.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.